Hey everyone, it's Gnome from the Hateful Gnomes Music Hut. I'm here with my good buddy, Jake the Hater, and we're bringing you a bi-weekly music podcast for all your heavy metal needs. Tell them about it, Jake.
We are here to have our horns up, and we are staying heavy. That is right. Even B-Word is producing behind the scenes, turning his mic off. But you know what? We are going to give the fans something bigger, badder, and fucking bolder. Tune in bi-weekly, a Spreaker Prime podcast.
Hey, this is Travis Demers, the radio voice of the Portland Trailblazers. And I don't know why, but you're listening to the Bleach Bros Podcast. You're never going to get this time back.
Welcome into the Bleach Brothers Podcast. This is B-Word, and as usual,
I fucking hate you. I hate you.
I am here
every week
with my good buddy, Jake, the Snake, the Douche.
Oh, that's terrible. That's pride flag, bro. Do you remember back in the day, like the Follow the Bouncing Ball, like videos for songs?
Yeah, like the Mickey Mouse, the Mickey Mouse songs.
Yeah, follow
like
your
Disney
big balls.
sing-alongs.
Like just with my good buddy,
Every week, dude. Every week. And actually, when I was editing the Hateful Gnomes promos last week, I noticed that that Gnome called you his good buddy, and that you called Gnome your best friend Gnome, and it sounded a lot like our Bleach Bros segment. And so, like today, I actually brought my 2-week notice to let you know that this is going to end, and we're just not going to do this anymore.
I can't wait.
But you know, I reserve the right to change that depending upon how this episode works out tonight.
I don't know if you know this. I've secretly, if you notice, everybody I invite on this show as guests, like the good guests we get, are all my friends. I've actually just been doing tryouts to get rid of your ass because I know you're a better producer than a co-host.
I dig it.
Like you bring it in every week the same fucking way, the same fucking thing. So tonight we actually have a good buddy of mine who I met through like a real fucked up story, but it, like not fucked up between us, but it was just funny how we met. This is my good buddy Aaron. Aaron has a TikTok channel called Flights by Night that he helps he reviews wine. He had a clothing line called Fly by Night. We met drinking beer and talking football through a local sports show. Sprague, who another friend of mine who comes on the show, actually introduced us. So how you doing tonight, Aaron?
Great. How are you guys doing?
Well, I'm great. B-Word is now realizing that he's being replaced, so you know.
I'm outstanding. I'm outstanding for more than one reason. Number one, I get to meet you. We get to develop a little bit of rapport. I am not threatened by this situation at all because all of Jake's friends tend to come on and we become friendly thereafter, and we also like to shit on Jake in sequence. And so I am not opposed to this.
Spoken like a true small dick man. Like that's the epitome of saying like I'm not threatened. I'm not threatened. You're not threatened at a urinal either, I bet, because you know 2 inches, man.
I'm not, dude. Dude, 2 inches hurts at 100 miles an hour too. So let's keep it up, huh?
You're like a tuna can rubbing against her knob, dude.
I may not reach the bottom of a tuna can, but I will tear the shit out of the sides.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting because I imagine the women you're with too smell like the tuna can too. And all I want to know is it Chunk Light or is it like the albacore and oil? Like which one you rocking with?
It's an oil, dude. And actually, some of them have the mayonnaise in it already, so we're good to go. Yeah.
Aaron, you ever knocked boots with the tuna can?
Let me tell you, brother. I will have to say that I don't know. You know, the metal consistency might not have been there, but you know, there's that old joke where it's the guy says he knows all the different smells of wood, and they take the secretary's underwear off and make him smell them, and he goes, "There's only one thing that could be, and it's an outhouse door on a tuna boat."
That's what I'm fucking talking about.
And with that, we are off. I love it, man. Well, welcome to the show, Aaron. Real quick, before we get into some of our subject matter, you want to talk with us about your TikTok channel?
Yeah, so I started it during peak COVID when the entire world was shut down. Just kind of something I started doing to pretty much entertain myself. It turned into a little bit bigger. I don't do it as much lately, but yeah, when all the bars and stuff were shut down, I was like, I should start reviewing cheap wine. Like I had a $15 limit. and just got after it. And it really took off at one point. I made shirts for it and I sold them to all over Canada, Mississippi. I mean, the whole US. It was crazy, super fun. And that's what that was all about.
Now, Jake also tells me that you are a huge fan of college football.
Absolutely. Live and die. I love it. College football Saturdays this time of year is the best time of year in my opinion.
College is better than pro?
In my personal opinion, yes.
And why?
I just find it so someone brought up a great point, like that Colts and Broncos game last Thursday. That was just terrible. A stinker. So, but then you get like Iowa and Indiana last week and it's 9-6 and it's like everyone loves it. And for whatever reason, like a crummy college game, it's just like, it feels like anything can happen at any time, where the pros, it's like when it's going bad, it doesn't really seem to get better. But with college kids, like the mental lapses and mistakes, just kind of the bad makes it good. But in the pros, to me, it's like the bad is just bad.
That's true, but I mean, I will say this: every week actually matters in college. I mean, every week matters in NFL, sort of, in the sense that you can still make the playoffs. I mean, once a team loses in college, it's like, okay, we just need to get to 6 and we get the bowl if we're in the Big Five.
Yeah.
I used to be of the opinion that I liked college football more, for the sense I thought the players tried harder. Now that the paydays happen the way they do and everything, I think that's changed a bit. I love the atmosphere of college football better than NFL, but I think the NFL is a better product overall because of the parity of it. I mean, you have weeks where you go in knowing that, you know, if Oregon's playing Portland State, that it's just going to be a fucking rout fest and there's no reason to watch it. Because, I mean, would you rather watch a rout fest, no matter if you had an allegiance to the team or not, or would you rather watch like a 6-9 game?
Well, I'd rather watch the 6-9 game, absolutely. Now, I've recently gotten into sports betting. So, you know, the route fest, if you've got the over, it's still kind of exciting, especially when it's close. Sports betting, man, that is a thing I didn't need to learn how to do.
That's a killer drug, dude.
Dude, it's great. I need more.
What are you using for betting right now?
Bet online.
Okay.
.ag.
See, I don't know if you guys know this. I am banned. Well, B-Word does, but behind the curtain. But I am banned from DraftKings. So a couple years ago, I placed a fantasy bet and I won. You know, I did one of those daily things and I won like 15, 16 grand or something, right? But the way I was doing it is I listed a P.O. box in Nevada as my address. And so when it went to tax and collections times, that's not allowed, because it's illegal. It was illegal in the state of Washington at the time. So they took my money, they deposit. Well, the funny thing is I'm actually trying to open a new account, and my wife and me have been laughing because it's been weeks. Now that it's sort of legal in Washington, the state, you know, certain areas and stuff, and Oregon, it's legal, but you can't bet on college football in Oregon, but that's besides the point. I went to deposit and they said my account was still locked. And I'm like, this is like 6 years later. And I got a hold of them. They're like, oh, no, you're on the list. Like, we've blocked your account. Like, you have to go through all the paperwork and the review of your account again because what you did was illegal. And so I've been in the process of getting my account retracted back. But the problem is they connected the other ones. So it was like them, FanDuel, Sportsnet, all of them. Like, I'm like on the fucking blacklist and it sucks. So I have to call B-Word and have him, because he's in Carson City. He drives and places my bets for me whenever I can.
Thanks. Now the FBI's on me. Appreciate that.
My friend because, you know, I live in Washington, my friend that told me about it, I haven't won big enough for any of this to matter yet, but I guess there's a way you can, hopefully the FBI does not listen to this show, you can transfer the money into crypto and then transfer it that way into your bank account.
Okay. See, I'm getting down with this. I got a lot of crypto, so I play that game. I'm losing my ass in that too, so probably I'll lose even more if I start betting again.
Hopefully I don't send you down the rabbit hole that I'm.
What are you going right now? Are you pulling anything? Are you pretty down right now?
So I'm actually up right now, but we're talking like pennies really. So I mean, I go to a lot of the college football games. I go to the Oregon State games around here. So when I'm at the games, I don't bet a lot, but like when I'm watching at home, I think I laid like 15 bets last week. So I've had my winners have been like betting heavy underdogs that have gotten upsets. So that's why I'm up, but the majority, I'm probably at like 40% wins. So not great.
But it makes it more interesting, right? Like it's like how they said fantasy football killed pro football in the sense like you care more about players and like other teams that you don't like. There were times I hated the Cowboys, but I was like, oh, I need them to score 3 more touchdowns because Dak's my quarterback and that's going to help out. Betting, I think, brings a different level to the game and a different excitement that you didn't feel before.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, watching like NBA preseason basketball, I'm like, oh, it's Clippers second half over the Kings. It's like, I don't care about this. I'm going to win like $3 on this, but boy, I am just yelling at the TV.
So what's your team allegiance, Aaron? So I see that you're wearing a Beavers hoodie. Is it are you a Beaver fan? I mean, let me rephrase. We're all Beaver fans, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
More ways than one for me, I guess.
So, but the is it Oregon State football
Oregon
team?
State. Yeah. So I grew up. My dad played rugby for Oregon State. I've been going to the games my entire life. My parents were married around Oregon State football in the 80s, which they were in the middle of like 28 consecutive losing seasons. So that marriage was doomed from the get-go. And yeah, I've been buying my own season tickets since I was 18. I go all the time. I love it. A lot of heartache, but the wins are way more satisfying.
Well, you guys are having a good year right now too, though. It's pretty exciting to watch you guys right now.
Yeah, I'm happy. I would have been in a bad place if we had lost to Stanford last week. I was thinking about that as the game was going. Like, God, I'm going to be so negative on this podcast, but they pulled it out.
Well, Jake sucks up enough of the negativity for both of us. So even if you would have came with a bad attitude, Jake would have just ate that up. So you're good. He's the black hole of personality.
Exactly.
So you obviously have some allegiances to the Oregon State Beavers. Now, you also said that you prefer college football over professional football. Is there a matchup in college football that you take more delight in than normal, whether it's a rivalry with the Beavers or whether it's one of the national, like a Alabama and Auburn or something like that? Do you find yourself getting more into that rivalry than anything else, either with Oregon State or with another team?
It's Oregon State over everything for me. I have 2 favorite teams every week, Oregon State and whoever's playing the Ducks.
Fuck the Ducks.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm ready for them to fall off. They're due to fall off. Like, you look at teams like University of Miami, Florida State. They're having a better year. Florida, like all these powerhouse programs that just fell off. And the dance that the Ducks did with the Devil is just, they're still dancing somehow, and I'm just waiting for them to faceplant.
Well, that's how I connect, because you know this. I like the Beavers. I'm not a Beaver fan, but I connect with Beaver fans up here because I have no problem being a black hole of society and hating on the Ducks deeply, and that's how I've connected with a lot of fans up here. Is I don't like a team that cares more. They're like cheerleaders that care more about what they wear than how they play. There's a whole laundry list of why I hate that fucking team, and I could get into that for hours. But I will say I'm a Beaver believer. I'm really into what you guys are doing. I was happy to see you guys beat the tree because that would have been awkward if the Beaver couldn't take down the wood last week. But knowing me, I'm a Roll Tide boy. Everybody knows that. Family. I'll admit this. I have family that are the epitome of Alabamians, if it were. But B-word, who's your college allegiance team?
Oh, you guys are gonna hate me for this just because it's so stupid. Nevada. UNR.
No, that's not stupid.
Yeah, no, it is stupid because they haven't done anything in years. Their last good quarterback was Kaepernick. Actually, Carson Strong wasn't too bad this last year and the year before, but Kaepernick was really the last quarterback that we did anything with. I will tell you, they've had some pretty decent players coming out of Nevada, but I was born in northern Nevada, grew up around the Carson City, Reno, Lake Tahoe area. I've been to, I can't even count how many Nevada football games. Here in Nevada, we have the battle over the Cannon with Nevada and UNLV. I hate UNLV like with everything that I have. I don't even know if they're called the Rebels anymore. I think that's been canceled. They might be something else now, but that's the team that I follow from a distance. So because they've been so bad, I'm not like hardcore into watching their games or even going to their games as frequently as normal. So I try to focus more on actual college matchups like the Bama and Auburn or something like that. Primarily SEC, just because I see that those are more entertaining nowadays. But I'm probably one of those people who thinks that professional football is more entertaining than college football, and that's not necessarily a hill that I'm willing to die on, but it's also not a position I'm going to leave. So
I want to ask this because I know when I went to Nevada for a while, I know they were part of the WAC and now they're part of the Mountain West. The scary thing is the Pac-12 might actually be breaking up back to the Pac-10 or even the Pac-6, as I like to call it on Twitter, because fuck them. But what do you think is going to happen there, Aaron?
Well, I mean, there's a lot going on. There's something I read probably about a month ago that was saying like UCLA could get blocked from that whole deal. I don't know what's going to happen. As much as I hate the Ducks, if you lose them in Washington, like Oregon State's going to the Mountain West at that point, and that would suck. It would suck for a lot of the other programs at Oregon State too. Not, I follow basketball, but the other non money-making sports or whatever. But I believe that it'll stay the Pac-10 is what my gut tells me. As a Beavers fan, like it's easy to go down the doomsday rabbit hole of just the worst thing is always going to happen. So I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself on that. But I think it'll stay the Pac-10. I want to believe that.
I think if you guys had to go to another conference, it's the nail in the coffin. In the sense for a lot of things, I think that's what they don't realize. It's not like Texas arrogance where they're leaving and just going to become like, almost like an independent or go to some other division and think they're going to be great. And then they fucking pull a Texas like always. But I think for programs like you guys, where when you are the giant killers, it's great. It's fun to watch. But as you said, it's always usually those down years where, you're just trying to get up to the top of the conference. And it's a big struggle for you guys because the ones that are usually near the top. Do you feel, though, I mean, they do say there's the East Coast bias, right? That they don't give a shit about the West Coast. But, like, do you feel like this conference, the Pac-12 conference in general, gets shit on? Because, like, when you look at the SEC, right, yeah, they might shit on those bottom teams and they only talk about the top ones. But still, it feels like there's still a respect for all the teams in that division comparatively to here. Do you agree with that? Disagree? Like, how do you feel?
Oh, 100%. Well, and the thing that goes into that, too, is, like, the Pac-12 doesn't do itself any favors with, like, their non-conference scheduling. Like, how many times have the Ducks played an SEC team and get just buried? Like, even when Bo Nix was still at Auburn, like, that wasn't a good Auburn team that year by any stretch, and they just hammered the Ducks, which I loved. But, and, like, Washington makes the college football playoff, gets destroyed. Like, the Pac-12 nationally does not do themselves any favors when they play Big Ten teams. I mean, it was awesome to see Washington State beat Wisconsin this year, but Wisconsin's down big time. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a lot of where it comes from. Like, they got to start at least playing these teams close when you schedule them and quit just getting embarrassed time and time again when you step up to those big boy matchups.
I think part of that might have to do with the budgeting of the schools, though. So I know, for instance, when we're looking at West Coast schools, especially some of the smaller schools, the recruitment isn't nearly what it could be. And a lot of that has to do with the fundraising and the boosters and all that sort of stuff. And so when you're not getting the alma maters or these people who have graduated and take pride in their school to come back and reinvest in their school, you're looking at almost a disadvantage compared to, those other schools that are in the SEC or even are just notable, whether it be in Notre Dame or Wisconsin or whatever else, just because they have the name recognition, the notoriety, all that sort of stuff. When it comes to some of that stuff, when you're talking about, sports directors and whatnot in the colleges, what do you think is the most important thing for some of these Pac-12 schools or the Mountain West schools that they can focus on to be able to try to recruit some of these big names right out of high school?
Boy, that's a tough one. I've seen an uptick in Oregon State's, like, the level of guys that we're getting, or at least getting offers from other Pac-12 schools or a couple Big Ten schools. Before Smith got there, it was like we got guys that only got Mountain West offers too. So, I think a lot of it, as corny as it is in a lot of ways, is the using social media, adapting to like this new viral world that we live in, to not get left behind. You know, the name, image, and likeness thing I thought was going to be a huge problem. Like, I thought we were going to just have guy after guy decommit. We were only going to be able to compete with Mountain West and whatever, you know, the group of 5 schools again. Surprisingly, it hasn't killed Oregon State yet. It's, you know, recruiting and like the mindset of these kids these days with like the transfer portals and stuff like that, it is just such a different world that I still, like, I try to grasp it and like understand it, but it's like guys just quit. Like, instead of trying to develop and beat someone out, they just leave now. It's just a whole different world of college football these days, I think.
It is different when you're talking about the different recruiting sites and stuff for high schools. I think a lot of it also has to do with the high school coaches and the high school athletic directors. I think when you're talking about what schools did they go to, what connections do they have, how are their networking abilities with some of these bigger schools. You're also looking at, you know, how does the school perform academically? I mean, just the high school itself, because sometimes academically that's what's required for some of the bigger things. They have to have certain measurements there. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, being a small school fan myself, you know, when we have a player that actually hits the draft, it's a cool thing. Yeah. I was very proud of Carson Strong this year for making it to the Eagles, but he's currently looking for a job. So, right. You know, it's really, and I think the wide receiver, I don't remember his name, is now Aaron Rodgers' top wide receiver, if I'm not mistaken, out of Nevada. So that's also cool to see too. But you know, we've been mostly at lineman school for the last little bit. So,
I mean, the thing I've always noticed, especially with schools like Oregon State, is they're beautiful college towns.
Oh God!
It's one of the most beautiful little towns. It is a college town. It is like the epitome of it. Makes you feel that way. Like, even if you're going to go get pizza at American Dream or going to the top of the Cock or the bar. I mean, but Reno's that way too. Even though it's its own little city, yeah. The college campus is gorgeous, and it's like its own little world. And it's set off. I mean, I remember I used to go to the Fitz, the bar across the street. That was that old guy's house, and he just decided to open his balcony or his, you know, porch and turn it into a bar, and it became this huge thing. I feel like the problem with it is like it's a missed opportunity for players to go to those towns, but that's why the fandom is so big, because the atmosphere around the town is great. Because I'm sorry, Eugene, in my opinion, too, as a town sucks, and it's one of those things. Like, they have a great program, and that's it. And it's like, but you don't want to, like, you go to Corvallis and you see the brick walls and you see the gorgeous school and the way it's built and how, like, just everything about it seems like, man, if they could just win, holy shit, this is like a gem that people could go to. And I guess that's the sad thing for me to see. I mean, because it's also a fun stadium to go to. Now, mind you, I've never stepped foot in Eugene. I believe still to this day I will catch on fire if I do, or a fan will lynch me. But that's a true feeling, because I mean, I went, and the only thing I hated about you guys, Aaron, I'll say this, is that fucking chainsaw noise. Oh, dude, it's nonstop. It needs they need to tone that down a bit, dude. It's like all the fucking time. It's like, oh, it's 3rd and 10. Oh, they scored that. And you're like, when? Why? Okay, when are they supposed to play that noise?
It's 3rd down.
Okay.
3rd down when the Beavers are on defense is when that comes in.
Okay. I just felt like it was ringing in my head at the end. I was like, holy shit, there must have been a lot of 3rd downs that game, the game I went to.
Yeah, once upon a time, I actually fired off a chainsaw in my house to replicate it on a big.
That's amazing. So, as we're talking about some of these smaller schools, and of course the towns or the cities that they're in, you know, University of Nevada, Reno is in Reno, Nevada, and it was actually voted, I want to say about a decade ago, as the drunkest college in the nation. And I'm sure, Jake, you know, after you went there for a year, you could probably attest to some of the things that were going on.
2 of those years, I helped keep that record high.
Yeah. And so that gets me thinking, you know, when it comes to some of these student sections in the football game, or when it comes to just some of the things around campus, do you guys have any funny college stories about actually showing up to the game, some sort of scenario that happened there? Maybe something you're a little embarrassed about but willing to tell?
Man, that is a long list for me.
My kind of guy.
There's a story, and my cousin, if he was here, would tell it to you a little bit different. And maybe for the sake of content value, I'll tell it. But there was a guy, it was a Civil War game, we were playing the Ducks, and there was this fat little kid getting pushed around in a wheelchair, and he's just flipping everybody off, like through the parking lot, going, fuck the Beavers, fuck Oregon State. And I just look at my cousin, and I look at him, I'm like, dude, I would suggest you shut the fuck up before I flip your chair over and stomp your mouth out, because that's like the last thing you got working for you right now. Didn't hear a word from him after that.
Did you flip his chair? Please tell me you flipped his chair.
No, I didn't. He stopped.
Oh, damn it. I actually got my first nickname for when I had my radio show in Vegas, JFM, from when I went out to hang out with the Blue Crew at Nevada, where I got tickets, I got hammered, and after the game, somehow I was in the parking lot and I convinced everybody I was a tree. That's how drunk I was. And I fell face first into a puddle. And as I got up, I was trying to hit on some girls, and my friend goes, "Don't walk away from him. This is Jake fucking Bedosic. JFM forever." And forever, that nickname just stuck from me being a tree in the parking lot after the game, because I don't even know if we won. I don't know who we played. I don't know anything about it except for the fact that I got free Taco Bell, because that's when they used to hand out like tacos for some bullshit. And I sat in the crappiest Blue Crew section, but that's one from there, because I worked for Lawler Event Center, so I used to work a lot of the games, and I didn't really get to watch them because you're busy freezing your ass off and walking around. But B-word, you?
That was where I had my first legal beer. I don't even want to call it a beer. I think it was a Mike's Hard Lemonade, but was at a Nevada game. Several drunk stories there, but actually one of the stories that I have is actually not even at the stadium. In 2010, my cousin and I had a house together, and we'd throw these epic parties, and there'd be people coming over from all over the place. And right around this time, Boise State is in town, and they're getting ready to play Nevada. And there were two matchups this particular year, and this was the first matchup where Boise State comes in. And all of a sudden, we get these new people at our party, and they come in with a few of our friends, and we're sitting there. I welcome them to the house. We're pouring drinks, we're having laughs, whatever. And I asked this guy, I said, "Hey man, what's your name?" And he says, "I'm Kyle Brotzman." And I said, "Oh, okay." And like it kind of clicked, and I was like, I think this is the kicker for Boise State. And so, like, I didn't say anything, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, he opens up his jacket, right? And there's a Boise State logo. And I looked at him, and I said, "What the fuck is that?" And all of a sudden, he zips it back up, and I said, "How the hell did you get here?" So, mind you, at this point, I'm just razzing him, like I'm not pissed off or anything. And I told him, I said, I hope you miss kicks for the rest of your life. So the problem is that several weeks later, I'm at Mackey Stadium rooting for Colin Kaepernick in this game day after Thanksgiving. It is blistering cold outside. It is so fucking cold. I think the game went to 3 overtimes, if I remember. It may have been 4 overtimes. And I swear to God, I cursed that kicker weeks earlier, and he missed every single shot. So the guy was getting death threats for a while, and from fans of Boise State and all this sort of stuff. I don't think he had missed a kick his entire collegiate career until that point. And so I take credit for that. But separately, I think he even went to Canada and he couldn't even kick there. So I'm good with that. It was all worth it.
After he missed and they couldn't go, because that was the year they were going to be undefeated, and they actually had a chance because finally people were on their radar. I heard the worst joke about that guy ever, and I'm going to say it on the show, and it was, you heard he tried to kill himself after that game, right, B-Word?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's part of your joke, but I don't remember that.
Yeah, he tried to hang himself, but he couldn't kick the chair out from underneath him either. So that was my introduction to him. I don't know. Unless you got another story, I'm going to ask you that first. I'm going to finish up with another one. But do you have any more?
I do have one more notable one. Greatest night of my life, September 26, 2008. Okay. Number 1 USC comes to town, and we beat them. I mean, it's incredible. You know, it's the standalone game, Thursday night, whole country's watching. We rush the field. First person I see when I get on that field is Mark Sanchez. And I went up to him and I said, "No fucking Heisman for you, buddy." And immediately after that, someone pushes me, and it was a USC assistant coach, like ready to square up and go. And drunk 22-year-old me was like, "All right, let's do this. I'm going to break your glasses." I think he realized he had a lot to lose because that was, Pete Carroll. They're ranked number 1. Yeah. So no fight happened, but forever. I think me saying that to Mark Sanchez is what really sparked the early part of his career to prove me wrong that he was good and didn't suck.
Well, that reminds me, like when I met Joey Harrington at Nordstrom and I walked up to him and said, "You shouldn't buy those jeans because you suck." And all he did was turn around and went, "Lions or Ducks?" I said, "Both. Fuck you." And I walked off.
Don't you have a good LaMichael James story too? You told me?
Okay. So let's get into this. So I hate the Ducks. I used to hang out with LaMichael James, and not as a friend. The whole thing was we hung out because his girlfriend at the time, or I don't know if she still is or whatever, the Max model, her sister was my ex-fiance. So I've had lots of dinners with him and been around, and I'll say when his brother came to stay with me, his brother from LA, who is a USC fan, by the way, stayed at my house, and LaMichael called me a racist. His brother threw him outside and actually had my back, so there was that. Because he got mad at me I said, "Hey, boss, can you pass the salt?" And we got into it, and he was from Texas, and my family's in the South, and I said, if I would have said, "Boy, I get it," but I wasn't. I was asking for salt. I'm not trying to be a dick. We got into it a few times about a lot of things, but I'll never forget, when I first met him, I used to call him LaMike and say, "Hey, LaMike," and he fucking would go off on me, and like, "My whole name is LaMichael." And I said, "Well, I'm too lazy, and I'm not going to say all that." And so I found it fucking funny. Like you guys are saying fortuitous things happen. B-word ruined a kicker. Fuck you to Mark Sanchez, right? I found it funny as soon as he retired from football after, his long stint of 2 years or whatever, he changed his name to LaMike. And I'm thinking, you know what? Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. You go and open a killer burger up here and you tell me, like, you don't call me that and now you want to be called that. Like, get the hell out of here. The stories, there's so many. I mean, it was just one of those things. We just never saw eye to eye. And I think I already hated the Ducks, and it just made it compound on top of that. And just being around the guy about just little things, we never saw eye to eye. And it was one of those, like, I never forget, B-Word actually called it out on Twitter when I was on the radio up here, and LaMichael decided to jump on that one too and say, "Some people will never grow up." And I said, "Well, dude, you'll never be tall, so fuck off." I don't know.
It was funny too, and I don't mean to interrupt you here, but that was before we started this podcast. That was before all this sort of shit. And I was following you on Twitter, and you said something. I don't remember what you said. And all of a sudden, LaMichael James quote tweets you, and he's like, says whatever he says. So back in the day, I took a screenshot of it. I sent it to you, and I went, "Get him," because Jake the Hater needed to be on this, and that was amazing. That was awesome.
It was him and Evan Turner, probably the top 2 athletes I'd fight. I'd get my ass kicked, but
I forgot about that whole saga.
Yeah, that whole thing, the Evan Turner thing still is, I did not realize on that one, Aaron, that I got Reddit famous on that. There's a whole like giant following of people. And the best thing is there's conspiracy theories on it too, that me and him are actually best friends in real life and that we were doing this behind the scenes and like all this stuff. But I'll never forget Travis Demers at that time. He's the voice of the Blazers now. He's just like, "I can't believe you did this." Because, most people, like, they'll call it an athlete. Like, I think all 3 of us are the same type of guy. You'll call it an athlete on Twitter or something, they'll come back and you'll be like, "Oh, whatever, I'm sorry," or, just ignore it or block it or whatever. And I was like, no, I'm going to go full in. 4 hours later, me and Evan Turner are still going at it back and forth. Like, fuck you. No, fuck you, bro. Like, yeah, I don't know. LaMichael, that just brings up bad memories. I just hate everything about that. But I will say this. I did find it funny when he asked me where I thought he would go in the draft. And I said he would go 60 to 69th. And I think he went 64th in the draft. So I was right on that. And I told him he should probably stay another year to get his stats up when they play Portland State, when it doesn't matter. Because, he'd run 200 yards that game. And then, I think against Auburn, he ran 7. So good on him. The thing is, I just said I think you'll last 2 to 3 years. I think you'll go around this in the draft. And I wasn't trying to be a dick. I was just being an impartial person that was in sports radio at the time, trying to say this is what'll happen. You've dislocated both your elbows twice. You fumble a lot. You are small. There's a reason you didn't stay in the South and fucking Texas to play. And I don't give a shit about your light switch story where you used to try to race it when you would turn it off to bed and that made you fast. Get the fuck out of here.
Corny.
I'll close off on that part. I'm going off on a fucking tangent, but. My last story about this, B-Word, I don't know if you know about this about me, but when I was at UNR, I wanted to be the mascot. I wanted to be the wolf. I don't know his fucking name, but I wanted to be Wolfie. I wanted to be Wolfie so bad that I showed up. Well, I don't know if you know this about mascots. You have to be a cheerleader to be considered. So I showed up. Well, I actually got thrown off the football field. I brought my own boombox and I refused to leave until they let me dance. And I danced until some security guards came and picked me up and removed me from them. But I still gave it honest effort and tried out. But I was not allowed to be the mascot.
I feel like that was like Chris Pratt before he was Chris Pratt. Like you're just trying to do a dance off in Guardians of the Galaxy. You're just like, who's going to dance with me? Here's my boombox.
I just wanted to be the mascot so fucking bad. And they're like, you have to be. I was like, I'm not a cheerleader. Just let me be. Like I kept yelling at Wolfie that I was better than Wolfie. Oh, it was a bad day, dude. It was one of those moments where there was no turning back.
That sounds like the plot to a bad Netflix movie.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a great Netflix movie. Before we start talking a little bit more about mascots, I know we'll get into that. But Jake, you remember when my mom owned mailboxes, etc., right?
Yeah, the place you banged all the girls in the back.
Yeah. So, okay. But there was the mascot of mailboxes, etc. I don't even remember what his name was, but he was a mailbox. Okay. So I used to have to dress up as this mailbox and go to like Chamber of Commerce things and, stuff like that anytime that we had it. Well, there was a, right outside of wherever that gas station is, I think it was right outside of Wolfenstein Construction or something. There was like some sort of party going on. And I was supposed to be in the mascot outfit. And Bleach Bro Mitch said he wanted to be in the mascot outfit. And I'm like, well, you do it because I have other things that I want to do. And so he started dancing to the music because the band was asking him to, and he started doing this amazing dance in a mascot outfit. And I thought it was hilarious because the band actually stops the music, and like everybody looks up and they just yell out, "He's going postal!" And I just thought that was the stupidest thing ever, but it was so funny. It was amazing. But that brings it up to here to mascots, boys. So Jake obviously wanted to be Wolfie. I'm actually really happy Jake wasn't Wolfie because that may have ruined Wolfie for me. But you guys got some favorite mascots? What is your favorite mascot?
Well, mine's Benny the Beaver, no doubt about it. It's greatest to ever do it. All bias aside, though, I don't really care for BYU too much, but whoever is their mascot right now is a freak. He's like the Michael Jordan of mascots. I was watching him. They had like 6 folding tables stacked up, so 3 on each side of him, and they'd score a touchdown, and he would basically do like jumping push-ups from the bottom table to the top table and then back down.
That's Cosmo the Cougar, if I'm correct, right?
I don't know his name. I'm very impressed with his work, though.
I think it is Cosmo because I have some family members who are kind of into that. So yeah, but no. So do you prefer to watch like mascot competitions?
I don't know. I've never really watched one. I guess
I think it was Capital One or Citibank.
Yeah, they do the best mascot where you vote on it and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, but they actually used to have competitions where they would do like slam dunk contests and different stuff like that. I don't know. I like mascots. They kind of remind me of furries. So
what's the Denver Nuggets mascot gets paid like $600,000,
$625K a year, man, to be that. I mean,
wow.
That's like, I think the one before that was the gorilla for the Suns, which I think was the coolest fucking mascot because it's like, why dicks out for Harambe? Hell yeah, let's just make it a fucking gorilla in Phoenix. But I mean, he actually like performed and did the slam dunks and stuff. But see, I didn't look into it like Aaron did. I didn't look into it like, oh, like he's doing crazy stuff. He's doing, because I mean, the only one I ever see do stuff and I hate it is Puddles, the duck. And we all know my asphyxiation with ducks on here. But when he does his stupid push-up thing and he cheats at it, by the way, look up the tape. The guy doesn't do real fucking push-ups.
Never done one.
No, I don't really pay attention to what the mascot's actually doing. Mine is actually Sammy the Slug from UC Santa Cruz, the Banana Slugs.
Sammy the Slug.
I fucking love that mascot. It's one of those, there's like 2 colleges that I just adore based on that. And it's, I can't remember, it's some other school near like the Mid-South or something called the Humpers. They're the camels. And on the back of all their stuff, they're known as the Humpers, and I just enjoy that. But the UC Santa Cruz fucking Banana Slugs, the guy looks cool. It's an off-brand like type of mascot that you never think of, and so I would vote for Sammy. I just think it's different, you know.
I'm more partial to, is it the orange Otto the Orange from Syracuse. I just like the look of him. He looks like an orange M&M.
Like an orange. You mean he looks like an orange?
He looks
just
like
a big fucking
orange.
round fruit.
Yeah,
that's what an orange is. B-word, here's the thing. I'm going to have an intervention for you. I know you love sweets, but he's actually shaped like the fruit, not the M&M.
Yeah, but their M&Ms are round, oranges are round. Like,
oh, fuck.
Maybe it's more like a peanut M&M.
Yeah, exactly. A peanut M&M. Well, with that, let's take a real quick break, guys, and we'll be right back. Bleach Bros Podcast is proud to align itself with Jerky Pro, a beef jerky manufacturer established by military and paramilitary veterans.
Available in 3-ounce or 1-pound bags with great flavors such as honey glazed, teriyaki, red hot, apple cinnamon, original, peppered, sweet barbecue, and if you're ballsy enough, nuclear.
Be sure to use our promo code to get some of the best jerky on the market. Use Bleach Bros 5, all lowercase, to take advantage of this offer today.
So welcome back in, everybody. Before we get into the next part, I do have a quick one. I don't know if it'll be quick. It could be a quickie. It could be not. You brought up furries, B-word.
Yep.
If you had to fuck
Oh my God.
a mascot, or fuck as the mascot, I don't care. You could choose this. You could choose your own adventure scenario. Which mascot are you dressing up as, or which one are you banging, or like how you want to go about this?
Okay, so I know I give you a whole bunch of shit on this, but is there a mascot that looks like Lola Bunny?
I don't think so.
Okay, shit.
All right, hold on. Answer it this way. Which mascot are you fucking first? Answer me that one.
Let's go with Otto the Orange from
Just you two. Dude, that M&M's going to melt in your mouth and not in your hand, bro. Oh, all right. So then which mascot are you dressing up and banging?
Oh, that's a good one. Probably Pistol Pete. Is it Oklahoma
Pistol
State?
Pete? Bang, bang?
Yeah.
You know, didn't it seem like back in the day, like there used to always be like the female counterpart mascot? Like Oregon State had Bernice the Beaver and Benny the Beaver, and then U of A had Wilbur and Willamette or whatever.
Willamette, and then there's, because Albert and Allison, I think, for Florida, they had both of them.
Right. Yeah, the U of A one, though, that small skirt, you know, she was kind of a baddie in her own way.
Do you know this from experience?
Oh, yeah. I've, tried to shoot some game at her when they were playing in Corvallis a couple times. We might have lost the game, but I would be damned if I wasn't going to take Wilbur's girl home.
Shit. All right, so which mascot? So that's the one you're banging. Which one are you dressing up as and having a furry fun time?
Oh, my God. I want to say the banana slug one, just like the optics of that. Like no arms, just like literally basically being an idle slug in bed. Like the picture in my head of that would be pretty incredible.
That's what I'm known as an idle slug in bed. Thanks for bringing that up.
I thought you were Otto the Orange, just a big fucking M&M. But hey, whatever. I'll say this. So knowing me, guys, with my messed up brain, I've thought about this a lot. And I know a lot of our fans are probably they're reminiscing Loki Masturbates Duck at Midnight, our one of our best episodes. It's not Puddles the Duck that I want to bang, and it's not me dressing up as Puddles the Duck. If I was going to dress up as a mascot before having sex, it would be Wichita State's The Shocker, just so I could pull the move and say it's in my right. One of the best. I think it's just a great fucking, that pink stinky little yellow fucking squirt, dude. Like that guy. If I'm going to go for it though, it's Big Red, the Western Kentucky University butt plug looking thing, because guys got to have fun too. And I'm going to experiment. If I'm going to go furry, I'm going to experiment all around. So, I'm doing it with the big butt plug.
That's
I hope everybody enjoyed that part. I look at B-Word's face. I love it sometimes.
I think that this is probably a good a point as any to try to transition this boat. So, Aaron, now that we have you on the show, Jake has actually told me about your TikTok channel. Now, I must be honest, I am not a TikToker. So I have watched a couple of your videos, but I did not download the app. So I don't know if that gets you credit or not. But can you tell us a little bit about some of the successes that you've had with the channel?
I got these. So at the start of every show, I do this thing, and I just go tonight
flights by night. Sorry, I get excited.
No, Jake,
about that.
you're actually the one that came up with the idea for the name of that show.
I did, yeah.
I
remember that. That was a good moment. We met in the parking lot. That was the weekend I was buying fly by night gear from you. I still have the sticker. I have the Oregon State orange sticker on my Jeep that I take whenever I'm in certain areas. But I remember you were looking for a name, and I said, "Hey man, you already got fly by night. Why don't you do flights by night like wine?" But anyways, that was a good time.
I was calling it fly by night, wine by night. I can't remember, but flights by night is what it turned into. But I got these shirts made that just had like the opening slogan of the show, and like all these people were just messaging me and commenting like, how do I get one? How do I get one? How do I get one? So I go, okay, limited release, 1 week only. You have to prepay for it because I have to make the shirts as I get the orders. So I sold, it wasn't a lot, but I mean, like a little over $1,000 worth of merch in a week and it was all over the place. I mean, like, couple shirts to Canada, some to Michigan, some to Florida, some to South Carolina. I had this crazy kind of stalker lady from South Carolina really creep me out. He's going through like a divorce or something, and she was like, I can't wait for my shirt to come, and then would like send me a video of her talking about my ex-husband and shit. Yeah, very weird, but appreciate the purchase from her.
What's one of the best wines you've reviewed on your show, or just drink?
The first one that comes to mind actually was one. I've been doing a lot of like the weird seltzers that come out lately. This wine, it's from Washington, like Yelm or something like that, called Tattoo Girl, was really, really good. The best one was I always say the name's wrong. Syrah from
the Syrah.
The Syrah, yeah.
Syrah from, oh my gosh, I can't remember the name. It was like $3. I bought it at Winco. That was really good. Gosh, I can't remember who makes it though. I'd have to look in the archives. Anything from Apothic as like far as bang for buck goes, that's always good.
That's a good brand. Yeah.
Like $8 in quality.
I don't know if they have this store up there where you guys are at, but down here they have grocery outlets. Do you guys have grocery outlets up there?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Grocery
outlet is like a hidden treasure trove of wines here. Yeah. Like they have excellent wine for great prices. I actually became a wino in 2017 reluctantly. I didn't like wine, but I took a trip to Italy and their beer sucked. So I started, really getting into wines. I'm more of a red than a white, and I love blends, but I love Syrahs, I love Cabs, I love all that sort of stuff. So you're speaking my language here.
I did because everyone would like comment like, "Oh, you never do white wine," so I did this white wine week. I think there was like one good one. Something with like daisies on it. I can't remember. I think it had daisies in it. That was pretty good, but yeah, I'm not big on the whole whites very much. Too bitter for me.
I think whites, it's a certain taste. I think it also gets to the point of like how cold it is and stuff like that. There's that sweetness to it. I mean, I got into wine when I had to take sommelier courses when I was training to be a chef, and I had to do a lot of pairings because my favorite is Syrah. Syrah is my favorite kind of wine, whether it's from the Côtes du Rhône region or it's from Australia, even though they're spelled differently, same types of grapes. I mean, we are spoiled up here, Aaron, because we do get a lot of good wines around us, but it is fun to go find those hidden gems. Like, I think it's Ravensclaw is one of my favorite brands, like Apothic, that they always have really good. Because my favorite bottle of wine on this planet, and we behind the curtain, we tried to get it, and it's from Rabbit Ridge Winery. And it's their Pablos de Robles. And I used to promote this wine so much that they actually started following me. We messaged each other for a while, and they sent me a bunch of free wine. And it's just, they do a great job. I like reds too over whites, but I've learned to appreciate whites. But the one thing I've appreciated it with is what you pair it with. Like white wines go very good with spicy food. And it's one of those things, like I think that people need to learn a lot with wine is when you eat with it, it'll change your opinion on it and how you'll drink it. And I think that's why I think when you become wine, there's that almost that sophistication with it rather than beer. Because if I'm drinking wine, I don't want to drink it by itself. I want to eat some chocolate or have some cheese or have some food. But if I drank a beer, I could have a beer and I'd be fine. But I will say, I think the one thing that wine's done that's the funniest thing is you can't judge a book by its cover, but labels is what gets me. They make a good label. I always want to try that wine. And I will say the better they are, usually the worse the wine is. And I find that to be funny. Do you find it the same way, Aaron?
Yeah, that's a great point. I find that the Syrah that I had that was really good was Tisdale makes it. Big fan of Ashley Tisdale, the actress.
She's a hottie.
I like, a lot of times, like when I was really doing the reviews a lot, I would just look for like stuff with a funny name that I could do like funny little punny jokes on. And the better the pun, the better the wine. But I think that's more of just like a irony than anything, a coincidence.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, I know tonight we're actually going to do a review of a wine. And we picked it out for a few reasons. To be upfront and honest, we wanted to try to get it because we're all sort of... Me and you are close in the area, Aaron, but, B-Word's all the way in Carson. We're trying to find something that everybody could get. The other thing is, one of B-Word's favorite rappers is Snoop Dogg, and he did meet him, and he did call him Baby Boo when he met him. So I knew he'd be a big fan of this, and it's the Cali Red 19 Crimes with Snoop Dogg on it. First off, I know B-Word's drinking it right now. What are you feeling about it, B-Word?
So, full disclosure, I've never had this wine before. It's good for the price, for the value. It's really good. So some of the things that I'm actually pretty excited about this is that it has multiple tastes as I'm drinking it. So the first thing that really came off in the first sip was a black cherry taste, and it feels like it ends with a vanilla taste. But there's a couple things. It's sweet, but not too sweet. It has some really good notes and tannins that they're just really pleasant. And for the price, you just can't beat it. I mean, I bought both the Cali Red and the Rosé, and after the Cali Red's gone, I'm actually pretty excited to try the Rosé.
Nice. Now, enough of your bougie fucking whatever you just talked. I want to hear the amazing intro and how Aaron would review this bottle of wine. So take it away, Aaron.
Tonight on Flights by Night, we have 19 Crimes Cali Red with the one and only Snoop Deal Double G. This bottle retailed for $11.99 at my local Fred Meyer. Let's see what it's all about. Goes down smooth. Initial taste, very good back end to that, the way it rolls down the tongue, the flavor, a lot of flavors in there. It's almost like a Baskin and Robbins. It's good, not too dry. I don't like wines that dry up.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
I'll say it's sweet. It's a sweeter red that I had. The one thing that's disappointing about it is they don't actually tell you what's in the blend. To me, it feels like a Pinot and a Petite Syrah put together. It's a little it's on the heavier side of a Syrah, so almost like a Merlot in my opinion. But I do agree with B-Word. I used to not believe in saying, it has notes of this and that until the funny thing was until I ate food with it and found out, it does taste like that or this. But it's a good wine. Like I said, for me, it is not dry at all. It is on the sweeter side. Yeah. So this is one of those ones where I'm probably finishing. I'm not going to have it with a heavier meal. I would have this with something lighter. The only heavy meal I'd probably have it with is a pasta, and the reason is because you can lighten up the sauce with it, and it could go well with that.
See, that's one thing I need to start hitting you up about is like pairings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. And I mean, the funny thing is like there's always those rule of thumbs, like, right? Like it's like, red goes with steak and white goes with fish. And it's like all those are usually out the window. I mean, like if you were thinking about it right now, then Aaron, just after you took that sip, what do you think your palate, and not what you're hungry for right now or anything, but what do you think your palate would want to eat?
With this, I would say a ribeye or something like that.
Okay.
Maybe it's because I just bought one today, so it's already on my mind. But yeah, I could see that going good with maybe like a little Olive Garden action, something like along those lines, like a light Italian meal, a little spaghetti and meatballs, something like that.
Yeah, and the reason I'm saying that is because I feel like ashier wines or drier wines and stuff cut through fat a little better. And a juicier wine holds on the tongue. And so when you're already having something else that's going to almost coat your mouth, and I'm not trying to get too deep on this, but if it's going to coat your mouth or anything like duck fat or anything, you want something that's going to cut through with it, like sort of be where we're saying the tannins, you want them a little higher and stuff like that, the acidity and stuff. So for this wine, I would do this with chocolate cake. I'm doing this with light pasta. I'm doing this with a white fish. I think those would be the best things. It is good though, and it is a fun wine. I wish when I saw him on the bottle, I wish it was smokier. And it's not just because I'm putting that, but it's like there's those things that your mind play a trick on, right? Like you're imagining that, like you're imagining not like Jeremy Piven smoking like cigar, but you still think like, okay, there's going to be some smoking elements because I mean that's how he's famous, and like let's just sort of play with that. And that was I think one thing disappointing about the wine that I didn't find.
See, I would actually argue that was something that I was mildly surprised by because that was my expectation, and for it not to be smoky, for it not to have some of the tastes that I imagined. I think that for me, that was actually more enlightening than it was disappointing for the exact same reasons. Not to say that it would be bad if it was there. I think it would be. I think that there's some tastes that would taste good, but candidly, that's exactly what I thought it was going to be. Was a little smokier wine.
Okay. Aaron, when you do these reviews, and I'll close you out on this part of it because you can answer it for this bottle too, but do you go in with an expectation like, I think it's going to be like this, and you just get totally surprised? Or are you just like, I'm going to crack it open, I'm going to pull a cork, I'm going to pour and just go for it right then, and just, I don't care?
The second part holds true. I mean, it's literally, like I said, just I'm picking a price and I'm picking a name, and we'll see what happens. It's like you said, though, we are very lucky, like the area that we live in, because even like just the cheapest of cheaps, like there's $2 bottles of wine out here that are locally made, and it's still just like pretty damn good, honestly. And I've had good wine. I had an ex-girlfriend that her parents had like a wine cellar, and they made their own wine, and were like members at all the vineyards in Bend, and so I got to try like the finer side of wines and really have some good ones. And it's like these $2 bottles like aren't bad by any means. They're not, $150 bottle like I had tried, but by no means were anything to like shake a stick at.
Yeah.
Yeah, where I'm located, just on the other side of Lake Tahoe is Placerville, which is like mini Napa, is what it's known as. And there's a ton of wineries over there, and I've been there several times. There are high dollar bottle of wines over there that are pretty impeccable. But I agree with you, man. Some of these more affordable wines, they hold their weight. They're not playing around. And especially, I mean, even if you go into Costco and you try to find some of the wines in Costco or grocery outlet or wherever you shop for wines, I mean, there's some really good wines, and it's surprising actually how many of them are really good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't really think like the only ones I've ever rated really low were white wines that I just didn't like because that's like a personal thing. I mean, all the reds that I've had have always been like at least, on a scale of 10, like a 6 to a 7 at worst, really. Not a lot of bad quality out here, and we're super lucky for that.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, my biggest issue is, and I'll ask you this, I mean, in a sense, like I've had cheap wines. Trader Joe's was my go-to because I think they had a good range of price range. But I think one of the most disappointing bottles of wine in my life was a $250 bottle from Four Graces Winery down in the Dundee area. And I got it from a friend, and he was like, oh, this was their reserve and it's going to be really good. And it was one of the most disappointing things ever. And I like went to him later and said, this $8 bottle is way better. And we both drank it and realized that. I think the difference between wine and beer drinkers, even though beer drinkers have now gotten to a certain level, is the fact that people don't usually drink wine just to get drunk. I mean, there are those people. I'm not denying that. But typically there's a thing behind it you want to talk about, right? Like, hey, let's talk about it. Let's enjoy this. This is a camaraderie thing. And I always felt the difference with beer, and this is why I think wine's got that rap of being a little more bougie or whatever, is that beer drinkers will drink beer. Wine drinkers will drink wine, but there are some wine drinkers you met that are just like, nope, I have to have this. I like this. I know, and that's it. So that's how I feel about it. But I mean, I really enjoyed having you on, Aaron. Thank you again for coming on, dude. This was fun. It was fun reviewing that with you. I hope the best success with your thing when you get started back up with it again, and keep it going, man, because it is a lot of fun to watch.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I appreciate you guys having me too.
And for our listeners, Aaron, where can they find Flights by Night?
So you can find it on Instagram. My handle is at ClarenceJudd_10. I post all the reviews on there. TikTok at FlyByNightAJW. All the reviews are on there. Plus, there's a bunch of other random, dumb little videos that I do to amuse myself and hopefully some others.
Nice.
Well, cool, man. Well, thanks again for coming on. And Jake, what do you got for us?
Thanks for all the dirty talk, and come back and get sanitized. This is Jake from the Bleach Bros Podcast, and thank you for listening to today's episode. I want to bring to your attention our Linktree. Visit Linktree/Bleach Bros Podcast for access to all of our socials, merch, and streaming sites. Linktree is linktr.ee/Bleach Bros Podcast, all one word. And if you enjoy our content, make sure to give us a like, give us a review on whatever platform you are listening on, and also invite your friends.